He wanted you to zoom in on the cheek.
A little lower, maybe. It's fine. Thank you. I may speak internationally, but I've never been here. Thank you for that warm introduction. I'm honored that Srishti is the reason for my first trip to this country and this part of the world. Thank you, Geetha, for bringing me here to see what you and your community have created. I can't tell you how impressed I am with what I've experienced here already in just a few short days. Srishti is a truly remarkable school. You should all be proud to be a part of it. It shares the same values as the school that I come from, California College of the Arts in San Francisco, one that is vibrant and also a creative community of people who are intensely interested in changing the world in some way. For some, that change may be to create a more beautiful expression of a concept or a feeling. For others, it may be the creation of a more effective solution. For others, perhaps a new way to interact with people or a new policy that helps change systems and helps systems thrive in some way. I'm at home and most comfortable in creative communities like this because they're places where ideas about the future and are filled with people and energy that is both personal and also about others. Srishti's no exception, of course, and I have seen wonderful evidence in the graduate show of passion and thoughtfulness, of empathy and commitment, and most important, creativity. Needless to say, I'm very comfortable here at Srishti. My path has been circuitous, like many creative people. My interests as a child were in space and airplanes, and I thought I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. But art and design were always a part of my life and called to me, and I thank my parents for raising me in a home with art in it all the time and having artists as part of our family. In addition, I thank them for raising me in a part of the world where entrepreneurism wasn't a myth. It was something that the neighbors did. So when I started my first company many years ago, in fact, my coworkers at the company that I left were worried for me. They were concerned and fearful about how was I going to pay rent and how was I going to buy food? Where was my money going to come from? I didn't have these fears because it was part of my DNA, because I came from a place where entrepreneurism was supported and valued, much like here at Srishti and in Bangalore. When I went off to college like you, I had to piece together a degree that connected all my interests. Fortunately, design is a flexible world, and even though I chose a major in automobile design, I was able to learn graphic design and packaging design, media, and other forms of art and design as well. My interests weren't limited to cars, as I imagine most of yours aren't limited to the fields of the degree that you earn here today. When I sat in the place where you sit today, my options weren't so varied. It's not that there was a global contraction in the economy, there was, but more importantly, the divisions between creative fields were much more distinct then. They felt more like barriers than anything else. Because I didn't want to live in Detroit in the United States, and because I wasn't satisfied with a siloed approach to design that was most common in the automobile industry. For instance, the interior team of a car and the exterior team never really talked to each other. Kind of crazy for the same car. I chose not to pursue a job in car design, even though that was what my degree was in, though I'm still pretty enamored by cars today. Instead, I followed other interests that led me to information design and then to interaction design, that at the time was a field that was defining itself, so it was a pretty exciting place to be, and then to experience design and ultimately to business design. Never before have the boundaries between art and design disciplines been so permeable and seemingly inconsequential. Never before has creativity held more weight or been more sought after or provided more opportunities, particularly to translate ideas and skills across multiple media, multiple channels, and in multiple contexts. It's not that different disciplines don't have their specialized knowledge or expertise, but there is a renewed appreciation for how these divisions contribute to a more holistic experience. When I started my first business with a few friends, we had no idea how things would turn out, but we had faith in the way we wanted to be in the world, and the things that we found interesting and challenging. It wasn't entirely by accident that we became probably the second web services firm on the planet, because we were always challenging ourselves to pursue ideas, technology, change. We were never satisfied with what we were doing or how we were doing it. If I can offer any advice, I would advise you not to be satisfied yourselves. You won't be able to plan your career or your life, no matter what your counselors say, any more than I have. And I'm certainly not doing what I envisioned I would, much to my surprise and my delight and my gratefulness. All you can control is how you interact with the world and how you intersect it as your life unfolds. And art, design, architecture, and business are particularly satisfying ways to intersect the world. That's because they do so through creativity. One of the most important lessons that I've learned throughout my life is that creativity extends to everything. We create works of art as well as works of commerce. We create businesses and business plans just as much as we create buildings and products. The buildings that we're standing amongst right now are the result of incredible creativity on many levels, schools and buildings and curricula and how people relate to each other. We create solutions to societal challenges just as much as we do to personal ones. And creativity applies to every situation, even if the audience is one. Can you imagine what it must like not to approach the world from a creative perspective? Consider that for a moment. What must it feel like to think that you can't make change in the world, or that you must wait for others to do so? How would you feel if you could only identify problems and not feel the reassurance of seeing or making solutions? You and I are supremely fortunate to not only be creative, because in actuality everyone's creative, but to believe that we're creative and to have focused our time here at school and our lives on new perspectives and new skills and tools to be successfully creative. Not everyone in the world knows these tools or feels this confidence. Not everyone charges into the world with so little fear of the unknown or a blank sheet of paper as we do. We know that no matter what, something useful and interesting will come of our work and is in our grasp and our capacity, and that perfection isn't a limiting factor for improving some aspect of the world, ours or others. I hope you always feel like that. I certainly do today. Our job is also to help others to feel creative. This is especially true given our many challenges. I won't dwell on this, but I will recognize that everything about art and design, business and government, economics and culture and society needs to be reimagined, recommunicated, and redesigned. Our most fundamental assumptions about people in the world need readdressing, and we need new approaches to creative leadership and intelligence. We need to help people find meaning in the world and the meaning they seek, but are challenged to do so because our systems are so stressed and so contradictory. Chaos and change are givens, of course, and always have been. And one of our jobs as creatives is to bring order to at least an important perspective on that chaos. Our world is full of systems and policies that sometimes make greed or ignorance more successful than care or enlightenment. We've built a world on false assumptions that have created not only wonderful things, but terrible ones: depressing poverty, inequity, confusion, and misery. In a very real way, we've screwed up the world for you and left a mess without compare and without clear solutions. And you will need to confront economies and politics that serve only a few and have stressed every aspect of nature and humanity. You will be asked to use tools that haven't made room for love and care and meaning to have impact, and instead only money and functionality. And none of this is your fault, but you're left to deal with the consequences. So let me offer an apology. I'm sorry we haven't given you a better world, one that's free of so many issues and challenges that you will face. We are sorry that we've often stressed rationality when empathy and love were more called for. And we're sorry to have wasted resources and time and emotion when we could have been more careful, more productive, and more creative. I can't even say that we've done our best. We probably haven't, and this apology is surely not enough. Nonetheless, our failings and what we've destroyed are your opportunities to create new solutions, new art, and new possibilities. Previous generations have left you with no end to challenges, but the good news is that you probably can't do worse. You already know how to fix things, better than most people, in fact, because you're trained to lead creatively. You don't have to be bound by the same biases or prejudices about people or how the world should be or could be as you or your parents or your teachers were. You don't have to use the same processes that we have, and indeed, as Einstein once observed, we can't fix the problems from the same perspectives as we created them. You all have new perspectives that we desperately need to understand. That's why you came to Srishti, I believe, and that's what you've accomplished to this point, to create new possibilities. And you're not alone either. We've already learned a lot about how to create and how to do things better, and there are many of us already at work doing so, to make positive change. Not everything that we've done or learned is invalid, and we're ready to teach you more about what we know and eager to learn from you about what you will discover. Some of us are a little tired, and your energy will probably replenish us. I hope so. Some of you see things that we don't, and your perspectives can illuminate the world. Some of us have experience that you will undoubtedly need, and we're certainly willing to share it. And our common bond is creativity. As for your careers, you will need to roll your own. The opportunities you see won't easily fit into those that currently exist, and certainly not into the job descriptions that you're going to find on job boards or Craigslist or some other place. You shouldn't be afraid to not quite fit other people's perspectives or expectations. When we talk to successful change makers, whether they're designers or in other fields, whether they're from art or design or business, even government or NGOs, the thing we hear most common is that they weren't hired to do the job they're now doing. They weren't given the opportunity to make change in the way that they found a way to do so. Instead, they found a crack somewhere that became their path, and they evolved it along the way. And that's what you'll need to do. Part of being creative is not fitting into other people's expectations. And when you search for a job, the employers you meet may not yet know that your skills go far beyond simply creating packaging or a painting or a logo or an app. Creative processes are endless and applicable to job after job and task after task and context after context. And an organization or agency may not yet have a job defined for changing the world or changing culture or changing its processes or its impacts or its relationships to the world. But your skills can help do these nonetheless. Over time, your personal evolution will evolve the very job that you do, much like it's done for me. It'll also evolve who you are. You won't be hired to do the thing you most want to do, but as you interact with others, you'll move closer to creating the impacts you wish to have. For those of you who start your own organizations or forge into your own offerings, you too will need to translate what you see around you until the others around you can see it too. At the beginning of this year, the science fiction author David Brin wrote in the Bloomberg Business Magazine about how the 14th year of any century is when people finally turn their attention from the past to the future. It happened in 1814, it happened in 1914, and I can feel it now happening in 2014, even though it's a little late in the year. It's still just in time. It's happening for you. Your careers are starting right at the very moment when the rest of the world is turning its eyes and hopes to the future. And you shouldn't let that opportunity pass without jumping right in. The time is now. Your time is now. This is a time to be creative when it is most needed. You need to run into your future. You need to run for your life and your career and run towards your life and towards your future, and don't let anyone stop you. Dodge the obstacles and be suspicious of the choices and options given to you by others. Don't accept other people's frames or assessments. Honor and thank those who created before you, but go create your own solutions. Gracefully, destroy the solutions that no longer work, if they ever did, and thoughtfully go make your own. Please, please, please go into the world with open eyes and open minds and open hearts. Thank your parents and friends and families who've helped you get to this point. You didn't do it alone. Almost nothing that we create is done alone. It's the result of help and ideas and hard work and critique from others. Certainly, you've learned that over the last few years. You've stood on the shoulder of giants to get here already, and as you embark on your future and becoming giants yourselves, please take time to thank those who supported you and helped you get to this phase. Now, take a deep breath. Right now, with me, take a deep breath. Take a breath to consider everything that you've accomplished and everything it took for you and your families and friends to get you to this wonderful moment. Today we celebrate, but tomorrow we have so much work to do. Not what you want to hear, I know. The most difficult work is still ahead of us, and it always has been, but it's also the most exciting. We've left you a bit of a mess, but kind of a wonderful one too. And more than anything, we prepared you an opportunity with a lot of challenges, just like the generations before us. Your duty is to choose a path and take a big challenge or two during your careers and during your lifetime, one that is worthy of you and one that is worthy of creativity. I just turned 50 2 days ago, and I was here for it. It was wonderful. But I feel like I'm only getting started myself, 50. I'm like 3 times older than all of you. My direction has changed several times during my career, as will yours. And you have no idea what the challenges will be, so you need to be ready for anything. And that's the exciting part. You're a citizen of many places and many systems. Your homes, your countries, your cultures, your families, and now Srishti. And you're citizens of a creative life, so never forget that. As you go out into the world with a new set of goals and new skills and new outlooks, you'll become citizens of a new way of living and working, always adding, sometimes subtracting. You're citizens of a future world that you get to help make. And creativity is the best tool you have to do so. So my last advice is to use it wisely, use creativity with joy and empathy, and it will never fail you. Thank you very much.
And now, please welcome the force behind everything that is Srishti, our founder-director, Geetha Narayanan.
The shortest talk I'm ever going to give you, right? Never, not a very long one. Well, time flies. I can remember I was talking to a couple of parents before the ceremony started, and I meet them twice. When you come to leave your students with us, and when you come today, because they're proudly going home with their diploma. So to parents and students, my warm welcome and my extreme happiness that I stand here today with so many of this batch that I personally helped get started on the diploma project for 2014. So it's a pleasure to be here. I feel that Nathan has covered so many points so well that I'm just going to dot on some of them and build on them in a more personal way for you. As I was thinking of what I was going to say to you today, I was thinking of how many graduating classes I've actually spoken to as they're about to leave the college. And one of the recurring themes in what I have said has been the fact that they have to prepare for a world of change. Many years ago, I talked about whitewater rafting and how students were going out into very turbulent times. But today, I don't think you're going out into turbulent times. Change is not out there in the future. People are not imagining what this change is going to be. You are in that process of change. It's already there. And that's what I think Nathan articulated so well earlier this evening. So what I have to say to you is what happens when change has happened, but you don't know what the future is going to be. You're no longer going to be overturned in whitewater rapids. Your world may be turbulent, but much less than it was. Wall Street has already shown us a great financial collapse. We know that climate change is here to stay. We know that political systems and the nation state is shaking and that we have to find new ways of governing and to doing business. We know that we have peaked oil and that economies and businesses have to re-engineer themselves and manage with new forms of energy. I think the challenge for you is to imagine a world where those problems of the past do not exist. Don't begin your practice by beginning with yesterday's problems. Begin your past by thinking of a future that does not have yesterday's problems. Imagine a world where there's no energy shortage. Imagine a world where there's abundance of energy to do what you want. Ask yourself then the question, what should be done? For the last 2 decades, we've been obsessed with the fact that oil prices are rising, manufacturing is getting more expensive, cost of living is going up, poverty is not going away. But we know we're on that brink of abundance today. Abundance comes in many forms, but it has come out of creativity. It has come out of innovation. And today, as you go out to design the world of tomorrow, you know that what you really have to do is not focus on the problems of yesterday, because the world's out there. I met last month a fascinating person. Sometime in the middle of November, I went off to Himachal Pradesh because I was invited by a friend of mine who said that, why don't you come, Geetha? There is a group of people meeting in Himachal, and I think that you would enjoy it. And all my friends within Srishti packed me off, thinking that I was going to get 2 days of rest, 3 days of rest, and come back energized to take on interim and the diploma and the juries and so on. Thank you. But what really happened was that I met somebody at the Sherebling Monastery who's one of the most amazing human beings I have ever met. He's a monk. He's the 12th Senkenting Tia Situpa. He's second to Dalai Lama in the Buddhist lineage. He sits up there in that monastery. And for the first couple of days, I was sitting there and watching what was going on. And I was looking who was around me, right? There were rock musicians. There were people who made films. There was people who talked about interfaith dialogue. But there was this marvelous, eclectic Bharatnatyam dancers. Amazing group of people up there in Sherebling. And then he asked his students and young monks and nuns and older monks and nuns to show us what they've been learning. And they've been learning Bharatnatyam. Just take a moment to think of that innovation. A monk who's asked, and nuns are asked to be taken away from the world of emotion, and dance is full of bhavas and rasas, hatred and love. And here are these monks and nuns coming and dancing for us with the Bharatnatyam. Then he told me that they learn martial arts. And then I looked at him and I said, martial arts? And he said, well, I don't call it martial arts, Geetha, I call it the physical arts. And then I looked at him again and I said, but monks and nuns are peaceful people. They're not people who are actually going to go out and fight. Why are you giving them the physical arts? And he said, well, there's a mind-body connection, isn't there? Should they just sit and meditate all the time? Shouldn't they also be physically fit? Shouldn't they feel emotion? They're also human beings. I've changed the upbringing of monks and nuns at this Tibetan monastery. Then I asked him about the rock musicians. And he said, why not? Why should they not listen to contemporary music of our times? Can you see where I'm getting at? This man is removing the cloistered, withdrawn position of monks and nuns and exposing them to dance, to music, to film, and bringing the world to them. And I thought, what a brave man. What an incredibly brave man to change something like that forever. The next day I went to see him. I had a private audience with him. And I asked him, I said, so Guruji, why am I here? Why did you bring me here? And he explained to me a very important principle, which I'm going to share to you. The principle of what he called active peace. He said, so far, all of us who are in this tradition of meditating and giving advice and telling people what to do, we lock ourselves here in the Himalayas. We meditate and meditate and meditate. And what is there for us to do? Become another Buddha? He said, I'm promoting something called active peace. He said, active peace is not about individual meditation. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not about individuals. He said it's about the collective. It's about doing things for tomorrow, making a possible tomorrow happen today. And he said it's not about the problems, it is about the solutions. He said, I can't do it, maybe you can. So I'm just bringing his message to you. I can't do it either, but maybe you can. All we can do is show you ways. He may be showing his monks and nuns Bharatnatyam and physical arts and rock music. We've shown you other things. But in the end, the world needs creative endeavors for positive change. Make me proud of you. Go out and do that. Thank you.